Okay, so anyone who knows a decent amount about me knows that since the age of 12, I've been more or less obsessed with the Academy Awards and the whole movie awards season fiasco. Well, I say fiasco, but really it's more of a thing that's akin to sports for me, of seeing all the nominated movies and wondering who's going to end up in the Oscar race and who has the best shots at winning. Because when I was a kid, that's the only thing that I ever really wanted, was to win an Oscar. Now, I'm far more realistic now because my life has not followed a path, and that's by choice, where I would ever even remotely be in contention for one. But this is a very long story short, is that every year I watch all the movies with my mom, who's basically, my best friend in all this, best friend in general. Me and my mom are really close, but not in like a psycho kind of way, the whole boy's best friend is his mother. Anyway, I'm getting distracted, and I wanted to talk about the Oscars, not why they mean anything to me, because that's more of just a nostalgia thing and less about what prestige the awards themselves actually hold. Maybe I haven't agreed with their choices of late, but that's, you're never going to have that one-to-one perfect reaction to whatever it is that they choose. It's just an interesting microcosm of what the race looks like in a given year, of what is out in front, what leads, what ends up winning, and then that encapsulates elements of the year so that it's almost kind of like a time capsule, For 1976, for instance, you realize how Rocky kind of shaped the whole year, even though you could argue that Taxi Driver...
You talking to me?
...or Network was a better film.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
Rocky ended up winning, and it was kind of like the year of the underdog, in a way. Long story short is, I wanted to give not my predictions, which will come later. The Oscar nominations are announced on the morning of Tuesday, January 22nd. So I still have a little time to compile my list. But basically, I wanted to list the 5 nominations that I really want to see happen this year. Now, I'm not going to pretend that these are by any means long shots, because a lot of them have shown up in precursor awards, which are kind of like the awards that give us some idea of which way the Oscars might end up going. You have the Golden Globes, the Screen Actors Guild Awards, the Directors Guild Awards, the Producers Guild, all the different guilds for editors and cinematographers and costumers and makeup and hairstyling, and critics awards groups like the Broadcast Film Critics Association, the, Gotham Critics Awards, and you even have the BAFTAs, which are like the British Oscars. So these are all helpful tools in predicting which way the Oscar wind is blowing, but you can also have a general idea of where it's going even before those awards announce, because if you watch the Oscars long enough, you kind of know what they're going to be into. Now, they're less predictable in recent years. I didn't think anyone was really expecting, The Shape of Water to become the Oscar juggernaut that it kind of became. And Moonlight the year before that didn't exactly scream Oscar bait, but I'm just going to get to it and say that these are the 5 nominations that I really want to see in 2019. So first up, I'm kind of combining these two. They're both in the Best Original Song category. Now, normally, the Academy will release a list of about 60 or 70 songs that are qualifying for the Best Original Song Oscar. For the most part, qualifications for being a Best Original Song contender is that, well, first of all, you have to submit it for the Oscar. Before, I don't think you had to, but now you actually have to submit it. And it has to play in the movie. It either has to play in the movie for, I think the threshold is around like 80 or 90 seconds, or it has to be the very first song for the end credits. So that's kind of the criteria. But instead of announcing the list of like 60 or 70 songs that have qualified, they've announced the 15 songs that have made it to the final phase before nominations. So you should be able to see them right now in the video, about the 15 songs that have qualified, and of those, 5 will be nominated. And so among them are songs by 2 singers that I really enjoy, one of whom is currently my favorite singer out there today, Troye Sivan, who earned a Golden Globe nomination for the song Revelation from the movie Boy Erased.
You're a revelation, won't you liberate me now from a holy bow?
And I would love to see this song get nominated for an Oscar, even though this is one that I do see as a long shot, because the Globes doesn't have a great track record of having the majority of their songs transfer over to Oscar. And also, it's kind of a larger issue with just the sheer amount of legends that are in the running for the Oscar this year. You know, you have a Quincy Jones song in the running. You have a song from Diane Warren, who's been nominated something like 9 or 10 times without ever winning. You have songs by Dolly Parton, you know, who has been nominated twice and hasn't won. And so the competition's going to be steep. And this is without even getting into the locks for nominations, like All the Stars from Black Panther, or Shallow from A Star Is Born, or even one of the 2 Mary Poppins songs that are in contention, Trip a Little Light Fantastic and Where Lost Things Go, I think is the name of the song, which of those 2, I would rather it be the latter if a Mary Poppins song got in. Or even like those underdog songs that are really fantastic, like Place Called Slaughter Race, or Land Called Slaughter Race. I forget the exact name of it, but it's the song from Wreck-It Ralph 2. That's about basically like a demolition derby place, and it's fantastic. But I recognize that Troye kind of has a slim shot of getting in, but I would be so happy to see that song nominated, because Boy Erased was a movie that really kind of connected to me in a big way, even though I can't relate personally to the story of a gay kid being sent to a conversion camp. But it's a true story, and I feel the song kind of reflects the depth of emotion that is embodied in the film.
It's a rocky road to say maybe I won't go.
And it does play in significant scenes in the film. It's not just something that plays over the end credits. It's a set piece in itself within the movie. And so I would love to just sort of have it make the cut, while also understanding that it's kind of a long shot. And similarly, the other long shot, which is an even longer shot to me than Revelation is, because I don't think it's been nominated for anything leading up to this, is Treasure by Sampha, I believe, from the movie Beautiful Boy, which is another movie that I wish more people had seen, because it's very affecting and it speaks a lot to the opioid epidemic in the United States today. It has Steve Carell as a dad who's trying to get his addicted son, Timothy Chalamet, back on the straight and narrow path, but it's a struggle. And the brilliant thing about Treasure is that it's sort of plays on discordant melody, if that's the right term for it. Basically, it sounds the way... when you're listening to it, it sounds like it's purposely out of tune, vocally, basically.
I used to live my life in the wind, and I would fly wherever it was wind.
But also in tune, you know, so that you get that sensation of there's something not being right. And it's almost a metaphor for the condition that Timothy Chalamet Elliot's character is going through, but also Steve Carell's character is going through in trying to bring his son back from the brink. You know, it's this gorgeous song once it really picks up, and once it melds in all those discordant harmonies with all the other, or discordant melodies with the more traditional melodies that you would be expecting to hear. It's almost like saying this is what you would be like on drugs, and then this is the potential, like the chorus is the potential of you once you're free of that demon, which the song almost illustrates you can never really be free from. It's going to be a lifelong struggle. And I think that's why it's such a brilliant song.
Because you're my treasure.
And the sound engineering in it is just gorgeous. I almost wish I had a better sound system to play it in, because you have, like, you know, it's almost like different voices coming from different sides of the speakers. It's just such a great song, and I would suggest checking it out. It's absolutely fantastic. And if I could play it without getting flagged, I would. But yeah, those two are the first two nominations that I really want to see. Moving over into acting, on the subject of Boy Erased, I would love to see Nicole Kidman nominated for supporting actress for Boy Erased, because hers is one of the most moving performances of the year for me, because it shows the depth of a mother's love and affection for her child. The idea that even though it's the South and it's a place where maybe the gay lifestyle is not accepted, and it's more than just being the South. It's the fact that Lucas Hedges' character is a preacher's son. And so this is a very religious family, and it's the difficulty of his parents, played by Nicole Kidman and Russell Crowe, trying to reconcile their son's sexuality with their religion and their lifestyle and their community. Nicole Kidman is the one who is sort of the bridge between Lucas Hedges and Russell Crowe's characters, in the sense that, you know, she's the one who really feels for her son and ultimately fights for him. And it's like, I don't want to get into spoiler territory, but she has a son, or she has a scene that is one of the most beautiful outbursts of emotion that I've seen in a movie in a while, and I was really fighting back tears. It was a movie where I wasn't expecting to have that reaction, but it was all in how Nicole Kidman performed that scene. It left me feeling proud of a character that I have no sort of connection to, but I almost kind of wanted to stand up and cheer for her. It's just a great movie, and it's a great scene, and I would love to see her make it in. And I actually do think she's kind of a long shot here, just because Best Supporting Actress is such a stacked category this year. And even if she gets in, I don't see a path to her, for her to the win, but I would love to see her make the short list. And it's not impossible. I just think it's kind of, you know, iffy. Now on to Best Supporting Actor. One of the nominations that I really, really want to see is Sam Elliott for A Star Is Born. A few months ago, this wouldn't have seemed like as much of a long shot, but I think he's lost a lot of steam in the precursors and coming up towards Oscar nominations. I mean, I think there's still a very good chance that he gets in, but for me, it's one of the most quietly affecting performances of the year. I know there are some people who kind of equate it to a glorified cameo, because if you total up the amount of minutes in screen time that he actually has, it's really not that much, but he makes the most out of all the scenes that he's in, and I think in a very quiet way, he's the heart of the movie. Or, okay, maybe that's a bit much, but he does have a very subtle, quiet performance that sort of sneaks up on you, and that's kind of the type of performance that I really like. And Sam Elliott is one of those character actors who has been around for so long and is so respected, and who's just so cool. it's kind of like you want to see him rewarded, you know what I mean? And I think like this is his best shot at Oscar, or the best shot at Oscar that he's had. All right, another nomination that I would really love to see is Bo Burnham in original screenplay for 8th Grade, because Bo Burnham is one of my favorite comedians of all time and a really big musical inspiration to me, in the sense that, you know, he's also someone who does comedic music that also has a sort of personal, emotional touch. And obviously he does it like way better than I do. But I feel inspired by him a lot. And so I thought 8th Grade was a really strong directorial debut with a really strong authorial voice, but I don't think they're going to reward the movie or its performances or its direction or its editing or its cinematography, or its score. So ultimately, I think screenplay is its best shot at recognition, and I would love to see Bo Burnham get in for original screenplay, because I thought that was a great script that really encapsulates youth in this time period. You know, I chalk it up to having young nephews and a niece, and being in those situations where, no, they're not in 8th grade or anything like that, but they talk in some ways like these kids in this movie. And, you know, I don't know how much of it was ad-libbed or if all of it was written that way, but it's a profound movie about sort of growing up in this digital age, and how some things are universal. Some things are always going to be awkward when you're young, but it doesn't have to encapsulate your entire life. And it has a really great parenthood monologue that's along the lines of the great fatherhood, you know, father to son monologue that was at the end of Call Me By Your Name last year, which was just a beautiful scene. I would love to see just that type of strong writing rewarded, even if, you know, he's not going to win. Once you're nominated, you can't completely rule out a win, but I mean, I just don't see it happening. But I would love for the nomination itself to happen, you know, because I love Bo Burnham. What can I say? Fifth and final nomination that I would really love to see happen is Into the Spider-Verse for Best Animated Feature. Now, I don't think this is a long shot at all. For me, it's a no-brainer, but I thought the Lego Movie was a no-brainer, and that got completely snubbed by the Academy, and I'm not entirely sure why. I think they might have been confused by it. I have no real explanation for why they would snub that movie, but Into the Spider-Verse is not only an awesome movie, but it's also really revolutionary in the sense that you could almost take any frame from that movie and put it on a wall, you know, and that final, like, climactic battle is just such an anarchic piece of animation. It's so brutal and fantastic and spectacular, and it was just such an amazing movie from front to back, to the point where it is one of the best Spider-Man movies ever made, if not the best. I mean, it really captures the elements of what makes Spider-Man Spider-Man, and also creates Miles Morales as this kid who's both in over his head but willing to do the right thing regardless, much like Peter Parker. But it doesn't feel like a retread of the Peter Parker character. And also, for as weird a movie as it is, it's also got a really great screenplay. Like, I was really impressed by this movie. And if the screenplay races weren't so crowded, I would love to see it pop up in there somewhere. But, I mean, the Academy is slowly now just sort of getting out of their comic book movie bias, where, you know, last year they nominated Logan for screenplay, which, I mean, I didn't think would happen. And now Black Panther is a front runner for a Best Picture nomination, because it's landed with literally every guild except the Directors Guild and the Editors Guild. but it has the SAG Ensemble nomination, which is typically a key to winning Best Picture. It has the Producers Guild nominations. It got the Globe Best Picture nomination. It missed out at the BAFTAs, but, you know, Black Panther was more of an American thing. So, and plus, they only nominate 5 movies anyway, rather than the Academy, which nominates between 5 and 10. So, I'm getting off topic. Long story short, I would love to see Into the Spider-Verse make it in there for Best Animated Feature. And if it does, and its competition is, say, you know, Wreck-It Ralph, The Incredibles 2, The Grinch, and, I don't know, Isle of Dogs, or maybe Mirai. I mean, I would still give it to Into the Spider-Verse. Like, that was a great movie. And I think it would be different from anything that the Academy's rewarded before, in the sense that it's just so different. People are going to be ripping off this movie style for years to come. And think when you're that much of an innovator that you deserve to sort of be rewarded for it. You know, it's not just about being a good movie. It's about doing something that is memorable and different. That's why I was so shocked that the Lego movie wasn't nominated, and any Lego movie has yet to be nominated, you know, because they're actually doing something that is beyond the norm from what you'd expect. But ultimately, I think it has a good chance, and I really hope it gets in, because I'll be really shocked and disappointed if it misses out on a nomination. Anyway, thank you for watching. I know that maybe not everybody feels as strongly about the movie award season races as I do, but ultimately this is something that is kind of my sports in a way. And so thanks for indulging me in this, if you've made it all the way through the video. And, you know, hey, I'm Nick. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.